Hey, good afternoon, friends. Today is Wednesday, August the 14th, 2024, and the time now is 2:19 p.m. So, I want to talk briefly about the situation in Venezuela in terms of the election result and the fact that both President Maduro of Venezuela and the opposition or opposition forces are standing their grounds. Maduro was declared the winner of the election, and the opposition has been protesting. You have the opposition forces led by Edmundo Gonzalez. So there has been protest that Edmundo Gonzalez had won the election. Now in Venezuela, we have the two forces, the Maduro forces, his supporters, basically who has been rallying for him and supporting the idea that he had won the election as the election authority has declared. And then you have the opposition forces with Edmundo Gonzalez protesting or rallying that they had won the election. And so far, there has been countries throughout the world in international relations. We are talking about those countries led by the United States, the most prominent of the superpowers in the world. The United States has basically condemned the election results and recognized Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of the election. And so far, a couple of countries have supported the United States, such as Panama, Ecuador, and so on. And even Brazil and Argentina have come out and basically condemned the election result or called for the election tallies to be released. So I just want to make brief statements about the situation in Venezuela. So far, the situation hasn't changed. The election commission, as I said a minute ago, had declared that Maduro had won the election, and the opposition forces, led by Edmundo Gonzalez, have been protesting or rallying, however you want to say it, disputing the election results and claiming that they had won the election. Forces around the world have taken sides. The West, led by the United States and some countries in Latin America, have basically either condemned the election results, supported Edmundo Gonzalez, or are claiming that the election results be released by Maduro and the election authority of Venezuela. On the side of Maduro, I have not heard countries such as China, Russia, or other prominent forces in geopolitics, especially in the global south, in clear, explicit support of Maduro. So we are basically seeing clear divide in international relations. Of course, not speaking in international relations can also sometimes be declared or considered a statement. But three main topics that I want to highlight. One pertaining to the fact that the West, led by the United States, is speaking with one word, either condemning the election results, condemning Maduro, and also calling for the tallies to be released. There are protests, okay? There has been protests throughout Venezuela or rallies throughout Venezuela. And also, one funny thing that came out was Trump's rendezvous or Trump's interview with Elon Musk, in which he basically stated that if he loses the election, he is going to move to Venezuela. And that is very interesting but funny, derogatory, and disrespectful in many ways to Venezuela. And also, it is to a greater extent a belittlement of the United States. Okay, a trashing of the United States by a former American president who is now running for re-election to be the next president of the United States. So in Venezuela, since the election, there has been mass protest or rallying, as I've said many times now, whether in support of Maduro or against Maduro. So far, it is stated that about 23 people have died, and the number, I was able to update the numbers. About 2,400 people have been arrested and charged with terrorism or an attempt in trying to destabilize the system or whatsoever. And once again, about 2,400 people have been arrested, many of whom are little kids or young kids. The Carter Foundation in the United States is basically, or has been weighing on the matter and basically condemning the election results. And the United Nations is also weighing in, condemning the Maduro government and the election results as illegitimate and so on. But honestly, as much as we can say that the international community is speaking, we must also ask, is it the true and fair international community that is not the West, led by the United States? That's a relevant question. But the fact that young kids are being arrested is a topic of concern. But then we should also ask, are we getting the full picture? Are we getting the true news, the true picture? Because whenever things come out of the mouth of the global north or the west, it is often fallacy or fallacies to a greater extent. So it is a very interesting development in Venezuela, as much as you have two sides that are disputing an election, and you have an international community that is divided, especially given what is happening in the world. Whether we are talking about in Ukraine, the war between Russia and Ukraine. And in the past week, we've seen a Ukrainian incursion into Russia in the Kursk region, where as of now, it is said that, or Ukrainians are saying that, they are in control of about 74 settlements. And the Russians are now retaliating, or they have been retaliating. So far in the West, you're having the warmongering activities continuing. In fact, the West most prominent warmonger, okay, or at least he should be acknowledged as such, Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham of the United States, continues to hail what is happening in Ukraine or the Ukrainian activities, okay, calling for the demise of Putin or the defeat of Russia. These guys are not considering the nature of what they are doing, okay, what they are propagating. But you also having what is happening in Gaza and the potential war between Israel and Iran, which after the assassination of the Palestinian political leader Ismail Haniyeh, there is a potential or an expectation that Iran is going to retaliate, which if Iran retaliates, could basically ignite the tension between Israel and Iran beyond the current point and lead to an all-out war in the region. You have the West basically gearing up to go after China. You have the situation in Africa, in the Sahel. Africans, despite the fact that politicians sometimes don't have brains, especially being led by those Africans on social media, okay? Those content creators and the African people abroad and at home in Africa continuing to make criticism, was able to escape a possible war in Africa. All over the world, we are seeing destabilization. So with this, the tension in Venezuela, it is very interesting. But with the current rally in the country, or rallies in the country, and the fact that about 2,400 people have been arrested, about 100 children or so have been arrested, with 23 people dying. It is a cause of concern in the country. But I am going to end by going over what I mentioned earlier in terms of Donald Trump. Now, you have an interview between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, the owner of X, formerly Twitter, in which Donald Trump basically stated that if he lost the election, he is going to move to Venezuela, and Elon Musk basically agreed with him. Now, Elon Musk, in terms of his activities, there has been recent rallies in Venezuela in which people are protesting against him, and he's been accused of instigating the situation in Venezuela, okay, destabilizing the situation in Venezuela. But back to Donald Trump. By stating that he is going to move to Venezuela should he lose the election, it is basically saying that Venezuela is much more stabilized, okay, than the United States, which in itself is a reality of a former president of the United States basically shitting on the United States. This basically begs international or global exploration of the idea of democracy. What is happening in the United States, especially given the person that Donald Trump is, the fact that he runs his mouth and say a bunch of nonsense. It is a vivid example of a very significant, important flaw of democracy that is oftentimes never given prominence or never focused or acknowledged, okay, focused on or acknowledged. Now, saying that Venezuela is more stable than the United States, it is in itself trashing the United States, okay? An American politician, a former American president, is trashing the United States. This is going to have a long-term implication. What is happening in the United States is an example of a form of democracy that the global South might want to run away from. Because when democracy is a system where politicians just engage in senseless name calling and insults of their opponents and even their own country or countries, it's a topic of concern. It is a reality of concern that the rest of the global South need to be paying attention to. But let's see, because Trump's statement also is hinting that he might lose the election and that somebody or some group or some entity might be stealing the election. But if that's the case, the question that I want to ask is, Trump, Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, what do you know that could be happening in the United States in terms of some institution or individual stealing the election? And if you know something, why don't you share with the United States, the people of the United States, the FBI, the security apparatus, so that the situation can be mitigated or abated or whatever, or whichever word you want to use. But I'm going to end here, my friends. Please tell me what you think. Thank you very much for being a member of the Echoing Voice community. But most importantly, thank you very much for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.